this interview had to have its own separate introduction from our on-air intro, because I had the absolute pleasure of having a telephonic interview with the incredible musician, artist, creative SIO. And I was just listening back to this interview and I was so taken aback by how incredible everything she said was. Everything she said was dripping with wisdom, authenticity, and added so much to the conversation. I definitely can't speak to my abilities in this interview, but I can say that she really held an incredible conversation. She added so much to everything that we spoke about, and to me there were lessons in everything that she said, and that was something very, very, very unique and incredible to have had on my show. So I just had to give this little intro because I think there is so much to learn from this incredibly talented artist. She is multi-dimensional, multifaceted, multi-talented, but she's not afraid to step out of her comfort zone, and that is what makes a successful creative. That is what makes a successful artist, in my opinion. She's down to earth and humble and kind, and I can absolutely see why she is so successful in what she does, because she's got a lot of heart. So without further ado, we're going to go straight into this interview. I really hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you have a takeaway from it, and that something that she says sticks with you and inspires you to create in some way. We have an incredibly talented musician on the line with us today, who is going to be part of the show. So welcome to the show, SIO.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm very excited to have you on. But before we get into questions, maybe you could give the listeners a little bit of an introduction to who you are.
Sure. My name is SIO. I'm a storyteller. I sing, I act, I write, I DJ, I produce. What else do I do?
All of the things.
And a couple other things. I do all of the things. So there's a couple of things I do, but my focus essentially, all of the things I do essentially drive everybody's focus to the music. But yes, I predominantly am an artist, so
I love
hopefully
that.
That's it in a nutshell. Yeah,
that's perfect. I love it. There's a definite trend, and I think it's maybe the time that we're in, where most artists have to be multifaceted artists, and I think I see it a lot in the music industry as well. It's no longer just you are a singer. You're doing choreography, you're doing art, you're doing videos, you're doing this, you're doing that. There's so much to it. But I think that's an amazing way to sort of express yourself further.
I think it's cool. I also think it stems out of necessity.
Yes.
I also think that the average working person who's not necessarily in the arts also has about 2 or 3 other jobs that they may not say.
Yes.
I also strongly believe that stuff like being a homemaker and a housewife is also a full-time job, especially if you are a parent over and above the cooking and the cleaning and the caretaking and the ironing and the what-nots and the what-nots. It's a lot.
It is.
So I think all of us essentially, to be fair, and I mean, it is special, but at the same time, I don't think it's very unique in that we all went to school, and at school we did more than one subject, and we were generally fairly good at more than one. At least I can speak for myself. So I know that there were a lot of people who would get like distinctions in more than one subject.
Yes.
So I think it's fairly common. I just feel like we've glamorized the sort of single focused artistic or single focused job title, that I'm just like, no guys, we're all very multifaceted. It's just now that we are in an age that one necessitates the need to be multifaceted, as well as just like gives us the room to be that. It's lovely.
That is true. I like that. That's a very good outlook. So I wanted to dive into some memories. I mean, you are definitely well known, and people will at least have an idea of your origin and into music. But I'd love to know what a favorite memory of yours was growing up in terms of music.
Oh, there's so many. I think for the most part would be the very eclectic long distance road trips my parents and I would take, or family, really. So those were really cool because music was so varied. There'd be everything from Brenda Fassie, Ladysmith Black Mambazo, to Kenny G and Andreas Vollenweider, to Gladys Knight, um to Tony Braxton and Keith Sweat, and to the strange things I'd put on, which was house music, and all of my family would be like, what is wrong with this poor child? And they'd be like stuff like ABBA and Kenny G, and like, I'm trying to think who else was there. Stuff like Tony Braxton was in the mix, and the Bee Gees and stuff. So it was such a very eclectic mix of beautiful music that made me also realize that, well, later on, it was like a very important thing for me. Excuse my lack of English today. It's Friday, so sorry. But yeah, but like it was important to me later on in my career because it taught me not to sort of stick to a genre and confine myself to one specific style. Because I enjoyed so much, such a varied musical collection from my parents.
Yeah.
And also just discovered I also love stuff like jazz and classical music, and they're like, oh my God, pray for this poor child. But like throughout my life, just went through so many different kinds of music, and also got introduced to rock at some point and really loved that, and loved some indie. And that's the place where I discovered like a very deep storyteller-esque music writing, songwriting style that I fell head over heels in love with, and sort of was also the training ground for me as a songwriter. So yeah, so I think the long distance road trips was like my favorite memories because like you never know. It was like a Russian roulette of sound.
That is amazing. Yeah. I can definitely see that come through in the music that you make. And yeah, that's so amazing. I love that. I love when people have, just have so much different influence in terms of music. I think it makes for incredible music.
Thank you.
Pleasure. So, I mean, you are a creative. You are a creative who is successfully being a creative in your creative career. Do you feel like you're a role model for other creatives? I mean, it's definitely a tough world to strive to be a creative and want that to be your focus in your career. So do you feel like you're a role model for other creatives?
Sheesh, I've never thought of myself as one. I honestly just living as authentically as I can, and I absolutely 100 million% acknowledge the privilege I have to just be doing music, and then obviously a lot of other artistic side jobs that feed the music, and then have that all support me versus having to do a 9-to-5 job. And it's not to say that I don't think of music in the same way as somebody who's dedicatedly waking up at maybe 6 o'clock to get to work at 8 o'clock, to leave work at 5 and then come home and do their stuff. Because my work week essentially as a musician starts, especially during the performance style seasons, would be probably my Mondays on Thursday and my Sundays on Monday. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so that's how my weekend works, because I start to work that way. But definitely, like, in terms of if ever there's anybody who's inspired by taking a leap of faith and following a passion that they are good at and they can monetize, because it's very romanticized, this idea of loving your passion. But there's a lot of difficulty in doing it and facing it and figuring out how to monetize it. So I do know that what I do is very rare, that I can just do music. A lot of my colleagues can't. They don't have the means to just do music. They're doing other jobs that they don't love to support the music and eventually hope to get to the position where I'm at. But yeah, I don't know if I'd call myself a role model, but if you're inspired to follow your passion and you can see a way to make money and live off of your passion in various ways, because you need to think outside the box in order, or at least I had to make this thing work, then I'm very honored to be considered thus.
I definitely think that you are. As a creative myself, and my show is based on having creatives on here. You are definitely in a unique situation where you can just be a creative, and I think that's what we all strive to be. So I think you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Such a pleasure.
Very honored.
I wanted to ask what it was like working with Hyundai, and if you had a favorite part of doing that. That was something very different and fun.
Yeah. I think the initial prospect, because it was initially an advertising pitch, and I just had to sing like a short snippet of a song that was composed specifically for the advert, or commercial, as some people say. So I really loved that more than a lot of other things, and I didn't expect anything to come of it. We were pitching the same way if you are an actor or a model would go for an audition, for something. So we did the song and we pitched it, and it was fun, and I really loved working, and I still do love working with the Audio Militia team, because they really stretch me in terms of like the places they make me sing. They've made me growl, they've made me rap, they've made me sing heavy death metal. I'm like, yeah, okay, right. Let's give all of these things a bash. But like, Hyundai really loved how people engaged with the song, and then decided to ask us to extend it, because there was a demand for it to be made into a full-length song. And I also didn't want people to know that I sing on commercials at the time, because I'm like, no. But people caught on quickly. They're just like, that's Sio. You're not going to tell us nothing, people. That is Sio. So they're like, Sio, what's the song? And I was like, okay, guys, we need to go to the drawing board and extend this thing. And everyone was very keen to do that. And unfortunately, like, Hando was very, very happy about extending that. And like, they're really cool. I got to drive Hyundais for a while, which is really lovely.
That's
I really
awesome.
like the car.
I saw a video of you in one of them, and it looked beautiful.
Yeah, really, really fun, and a lot of like meetings, and I got to tell my story as an artist and where I come from, and they love all of the multifacetedness of me and how all of that works to feed the dream, because the slogan at the time for the Hyundai venue was like, your dreams don't work unless you do. And I was just like, well, yeah, that's true. So I embodied that for them. So I was a great ambassador for them for that.
Amazing.
I was blessed.
That is so amazing.
Really cool.
I came across a really awesome experience. You performed for library jams.
Yeah.
That looked so amazing. What was that experience like?
It was crazy, because it's like a nod to the Tiny Desk concert that we all love. So there's a big nod to that, and that's also a dream. It's on my bucket list to still do that version there. But like it was like a mini manifestation of that, which is lovely. It was also at the heart of COVID season 1, so 2020 when we did that, which was a bit strange, but lovely to get to share music and be a part of what brought people out of sort of their minds and the dark depression of the unknown at the time and the fear. So that was really beautiful, and I got to be a clown, which people didn't expect me to be, because I guess the content of my music is very intense and very heavy. Yeah. And I actually cultivated this idiot to counterbalance the sort of darkness in the music. So it was fun to perform and to have people engage with me, however little bit and however much they were, like in the room and then also outside and online, and how well we worked together, myself and Enlighten, and how much fun that was. So it was really cool. I really, really enjoyed it.
That's amazing. Okay, so we have Sio on the line, and we have been chatting just a bit about her journey, her experiences, what it's been like. But she's recently launched an absolutely incredible album. Sio, I wanna chat a little bit about your new album.
Sweet.
Actually, a little bit related to your library jams session. You started off with a little bit of a spoken word piece, and it reminds me so much of the first track on your new album.
Yes. I have a tendency to do, like, when I do albums, to especially if they're a CEO album, to include poetry or spoken word. So I needed to open the entire piece with a poem and an ode, so you have a sort of idea or a guide to what the album will be about. Yeah, it was a bit awkward because it was such it starts off as a voice note.
Yes.
And my friend and producer Dave Martian was like, you need to tell people, or you need to pretend to be in love with someone and send them a voice note, and I'm gonna edit. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like when I heard it back the first time on a recording, I was cringing because I heard it in a room in London.
Yeah.
At a listening session, and I was like, oh, I feel so exposed. I felt butt naked spiritually. I was like, oh my gosh. And like everybody who's heard it was just like, all of the guys, at least. There's been a couple of guys who sent me messages since the release and be like, "SIO, that first track nearly got me into trouble." I was like, I'm sorry, Chad. I'm sorry, Chad. Must tell them it's the song. It's not a person. We're not dating. It's crazy, but I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
It's
beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, do you regularly write poetry as well, or is this something you just do for your tracks, your album? Sorry.
Yeah, I do actually regularly write poetry. I wrote poems long before I cracked songs.
Wow.
So I started writing poems when I was in grade 10. And the songs came a little bit later. So so I figured out the poetry before.
That's amazing.
I could write songs. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, what made you choose to use a Korean word for the name of your album?
One, because the album, how to express this properly? I've got 17 thoughts running in my head at the same time. Okay, so when I did decide to do this specific album, because it was actually a place filler, I'd done an album before this that I'm going to release after.
Okay.
Sarang. So I thought about what I want to speak about, because a lot of my albums before this have been, at least initially, doubtful and very angry. Content-wise, in terms of like what I wrote, and I wanted this one to be very soft and very loving, instead of like all of the very brutal things that I tend to speak about and that I've been through. I wanted to put myself in an imagined place of peace, love, and happiness that I'd not yet experienced, and I didn't want the album to have a very on-the-nose title.
Okay.
And I do love Korean dramas. I'm learning Korean. I'm a big fan. I want to go
amazing.
to Korea. Very love to go. So I thought, what is the album about? And I spoke to Dave about it. And he's like, you like Korean dramas. Why not name it Sarang? I was like, okay.
That's amazing.
I'm sold. That's easy. So yeah, that's why it's named that.
I love that. And which song did you start off with on the album? Which is the one that was first created?
Well, in terms of writing, a lot of them are sort of like very old. I guess Hey Lover would be the oldest one, because I wrote Hey Lover 16 years ago. And guitar is also me. So the composition on the guitar and everything is me. But like I put the album together, and there's a lot of songs I rewrote. Actually, ironically, another one that I didn't have to rewrite again was Hey Lover, because it fit. There was no doubt in Hey Lover. There was no sort of worry. There's no sort of, oh gosh, this is going to go wrong, which all of my songs had. So I had to rewrite them all to suit the no doubt, the peace, the love, the solid sort of founded love. So I guess if you're looking at time in that context, the oldest one, I guess, the one I wrote first before I even thought I was going to be a musician, was Hey Lover.
Wow. That's actually one of my favorite of the album.
Amazing.
So I wanted to know, when you're coming up with lyrics, do you come up with the lyrics before the music, or do you sort of always have this idea of what the finished product is going to sound like?
I think it's a mix of a lot of things. So firstly, I write the songs for myself, like for the most part. Sarang was written just as ideas in my voice notes, as well as just lyrically and the sort of melodies that I sing. I wrote on my phone and the notebook I always keep, because I always go everywhere with a pen, my phone, and a book, just in case ideas pop up.
Yeah.
And I kept them. I wrote them over a long time in a span of years, and then there's times when we go into studio, I'd go into studio and I'd listen to the song, and I can write for the song and the beat as it plays. And then there's times where I hit blanks, and I go into my long, very deep, extensive creative vault, and I go pull out all of these little songs that I could see fitting into the melodies in the beats, or just tweak them or squeeze them in there. So that it depends. So yeah.
That's amazing.
As far as hearing what they'd sound like as the end product, I never know. I'm very open to the universe guiding that the way it wants, because it works out very well.
I like that. So we've been talking a lot about your album. I think let's play a couple of songs for the listeners. Is that not such a beautiful song? First of all, that music is so amazing. We listened to Hey Lover and Olympus. If that doesn't get you in your feels, seriously, what will? Because, wow, what incredible music. SIO, I'm speechless. You've made such a beautiful, such a emotion-invoking album.
Thank you. I'm glad that it served its purpose.
It is so beautiful. I spent some time watching the videos that you made with it. Firstly, I thought it was so interesting having a video for every song on the album, including your interludes. I thought that was so incredible.
Yeah. Thank you.
Was there a reason that you chose to do that?
It's always been a dream of mine to have a visual album, and I was gifted with the opportunity under the record label to have this done for this album, and I jumped on it. We didn't have a lot of time to get everything done, but yeah, I was very, very excited to do it, and I dove head in. They wanted the visuals to be in sort of very rough and tumble sort of spaces. We tried not to make them too rough and tumble, and I thought to be like very soft in how I looked. So I have a much harder aesthetic. It's a lot edgier. So I needed to soften how I looked so it served the music, and I was glad that they make sense.
You definitely managed to do that. You definitely did.
Yeah.
They were so beautiful. And so interesting. So something that I noticed that I thought was slightly confrontational, not in a negative way, but was the way that you were looking. Sometimes you were looking away, but when you looked at us through the videos, it really draws somebody in, almost makes the lyrics feel like they are to the person listening, which was very interesting. Yeah. Was that sort of the purpose behind it, or was there another reason that you did that?
I don't even think that was intentional, hey? I think there was just moments where I needed to look at the camera, so I felt like, okay, yes, by the way, we're shooting a video, don't drift off, SIO. But if I mean, it does make sense, the sort of looking through the lens and at the camera does have a sense of engaging with people. So I also, in a sense, maybe subconsciously wanted people to engage with it and come into my world a lot more with the visuals. So that helped. Definitely does help.
I definitely can see that in what you did. And I could definitely feel that, like, it almost, so every video that you made, I felt was very much, it gave off some kind of feel of film or cinema. It felt like you were watching a movie. And then in those moments where you're looking at the camera, it almost brings you into the moment as the listener, or as the watcher, I should say. It brings you into the moment and you're like, oh, I'm part of this now. It definitely does something amazing. So that was really, really well done. I really thought that was beautiful.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Did you actually have any video that was a favorite of yours or a favorite to make?
I don't know. I tend not to think of favorites over and above the sort of the things I do, whether it's a song or like the videos. I don't think so, but I think I really love the grit and the romance, I guess, of the opening video for the album, for Speak With It, the poem. because of like how beautifully romantic the sky was.
Yes. Oh, it
And
really
how that it
was.
just like the heavens gifted us with that. So I was just like, that looks absolutely beautiful. And I love the sky. I don't write about it enough or show it enough in any of my content or work, but I have a very big romance with the Johannesburg sky, because we have, I believe, a lot of incredible sunsets, especially cloudy ones. And I was just like, it's like God was like, my child, here's your favorite sunset. Use it to your heart's content. And I was like, yo, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I love how that looks, sort of like that soft romance of the sky with the sort of grit and rough and tumble of
Yes.
the buildings and Johannesburg in the background, which was cool. So I guess just visually, that's one of, if I have to choose a favorite, I love all of them. But that one's particularly special for that reason.
Oh, I love that. So we're going to say, unfortunately, say goodbye to you. I really wish I could keep you on for all of the shows, always. You have such an awesome energy. But we're going to say goodbye to you now, and I'm going to play 2 more of your songs after you have gone. But thank you so much for taking time out to do this and chat to me.
No, massive love for inviting me and taking the time to think about me and supporting my work and the work of a lot of artists who are local and in the country. It means a lot to be acknowledged at home, because it's not something we get a lot as artists, and to be acknowledged in spaces where we may not be, prevalent in terms of availability and performance. I'm very grateful that you took the time to reach out to me and share my work with your audience, who now knows of me. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. A huge thank you and shout out to SIO for coming onto the show, for giving us such beautiful words of wisdom, inspiration, and just sharing with us and connecting with us. That really was such an awesome interview. It was such an awesome person that we got to have on, and I just want to thank her so much for coming on. Thank you, SIO. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to just spend this time with us. I hope that you enjoyed listening to that interview. Again, it was one of my favorite interviews I've done so far. Make sure to tune in every Friday from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. to listen into the Creative with Jasmine Kai on Underground Radio.